couple times now we've brought up this idea of engaging the body for the real immersive experience with storytelling. You've got your own story that kind of sets you on your path, I would argue, when you were first learning to read. I love this story so much. For those listening and those watching, could you walk us through the process? I know you were fascinated with having books read to you from your parents, but then what happened?
Then I got to first grade and I was supposed to read in class with all the other kids as we were trying to learn to decipher those little squiggly lines. And I couldn't do it. Other kids could read and it would come to me and I would try to make something up and they would laugh and make fun of me. And I felt really inadequate. And I really struggled. And I was lucky because I was at a school where the teacher thought maybe Charlie isn't just slow or stupid, but that he's having a reading problem. And they had me tested, and it turns out I was dyslexic. And I was lucky to have it identified so young.
Yeah.
I didn't feel lucky at the time because it meant a lot of tutors after school and remedial reading classes in school. And there was this one teacher, Mrs. Schultz, and she had this little tiny office. And I would have to go into her office and she would take this cookie sheet and put it on my lap and pour this jar of sand into the sheet and shake it flat. And then she'd hold up flashcards with letters on them like B, and I'd have to say B, B. And then with my finger, I'd have to draw a B in the sand. And then she'd show the D and say D, duh, and I'd have to draw a D in the sand. And what I realized now is that I was using multisensory embodied learning techniques to understand the differences between the sounds and the letters that I struggled with, that it wasn't happening for me just in an audio or visual way. And so it was with that embodied reinforcement that I finally learned how to decode the letters and learned to read and write. And eventually, by the time I got to high school, I would caught up and I was doing well. But I never forgot that. And I think because of it, I'm somebody who is a naturally embodied learner, physical learner. And I now understand, it may be in part, that's why I'm so drawn to these kind of living stories.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that story so much because I've had workshops on this concept of turning your tragic flaw into your superpower, right? Often the thing that we think is holding us back or the thing we don't like about ourselves is actually what differentiates us, what separates us, what makes us special, right? And that's a major reframe that you have to go through psychologically, mentally, emotionally. And unfortunately, some people don't get there. But I love how you flipped the script on that, and now I would argue is understanding that element that you probably didn't understand when you were a kid, but now maybe you can look back and see it is just like, oh, how powerful that was, and how funny is it, for lack of a better word, that now you're in the space of helping teach people and connect with people and hopefully affect change through this immersive storytelling. I just thought that was what a great way. And it's not by accident, in my opinion. Our personal journeys go, they're winding roads, but if you trace it back, there's often a reason or an origin, I find. And so to me, I feel like that's not by accident that you ended up there.
And you touch on another thing, which is that we make sense of our lives by telling stories to ourselves, right? So this is a story that I divined. Like, no one else told me, oh, Charlie, in first grade, you learned that. And that's why you, and da-da-da. No, I literally, this is a story I've constructed from the clues or the breadcrumbs of my own life to help me understand how I got to where I am. And it reminds us of how powerful our own sense of identity or how much our own sense of identity is defined by the stories and basically the character that we create for ourselves, and how wonderful that is, but also how that can be limiting, right?
Totally.
We can put ourselves in a box. And one of the things that I've really loved about these immersive experiences that I've done, the best of them, is that they've taken me out of the box and they've forced me to play different roles or put me a little out of my comfort zone. And through doing that, I've learned new things about who I am.
Yes, that's how we evolve.
That's how we evolve.